Hey Reddit. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. I never thought I'd be that guy writing into one of these subs, but here I am. Life's got a twisted sense of humor. My 36M wife, ally 33F, is, well, let's just say she walks into a room and people notice. She's always been magnetic, laughs a little too loud, flirts a little too easily, and can lie without blinking. But God, she's beautiful. The kind of woman who can talk her way out of anything and usually does. We've been married 8 years. Things weren't perfect, but I didn't think they were falling apart either. I work long hours in IT, and she runs an online boutique from home, kind of a flexible setup for her, which meant she often ran errands during the day, including anything car-related. So when our car, a white Honda CR-V, started making a weird knocking sound, she took it to this little shop near our neighborhood. Said it was closer and more affordable than the dealership. I didn't think twice about it. I mean, it's a car repair place. What could possibly happen? She started going there more than once. At first it was the knocking. Then it was an oil leak. Then some tire rotation thing. Then a squeaky belt or something. Every week, she had a reason to swing by. I remember making a joke about how that car was getting more attention than I was. She laughed and kissed me and said something like, "You're jealous of the mechanic now?" We both laughed. Only, now I realize I wasn't joking. So here's where it all really starts to fall apart. About 3 weeks ago, Ally asked me to pick up some groceries because she had a migraine and couldn't drive. No big deal. I grabbed the keys to the CR-V, hopped in, and started the engine. That's when I noticed it. The seat was pushed all the way back, way farther than Ally ever drives. I'm 5 feet 10 inches, she's 5 feet 4 inches soaking wet. No way she did that. The air smelled off. Not like her usual vanilla perfume or the lavender car freshener she loves. This was sweat, cologne, and something I couldn't quite place, almost musky. Like someone had been in there for a while. Doing something. I tried brushing it off. Maybe the mechanic had test-driven it? Maybe she lent it to someone? But then I saw the real kicker, a receipt sticking out of the passenger side door. It was from a gas station about 30 minutes away. Time stamp? 11:48 p.m. Date? A night she told me she was at home, just tired, going to bed early. I sat there for a full minute, just staring at that receipt. My chest got tight. I couldn't explain it, but I knew something was wrong. That gut-deep, cold realization hit me hard. That night, I couldn't sleep. I laid next to her in bed and just stared at the ceiling. Her breathing was soft, calm. Like nothing in the world was wrong. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was sleeping next to a stranger. The next morning, I casually asked her about the gas station receipt. Her eyes darted, just for a second, but I caught it. Oh, that? I must have gone to fill up after running errands with Stacy. I forgot, sorry. She gave me that soft smile she always uses when she's trying to disarm me. The one that used to make me feel like everything was okay. Except Stacy had moved to Florida 3 months ago. I didn't say anything right away. Just nodded, tucked that little lie away in the growing pile, and started paying closer attention. That's when I noticed more things. The car smelled freshly detailed 2 days later, like she'd scrubbed it down. But I hadn't seen a charge on the credit card, so either she paid cash, rare for her, or someone else cleaned it. I also noticed she was suddenly real particular about where she parked. Before, she'd toss her keys on the table and ask me to grab something from the trunk if she forgot it. Now, she always brought everything in herself and locked the car. One night, I waited until she was in the shower and went out to check the glove box. Inside was a business card. Marco's Auto Foreign and Domestic Repairs. I stared at it for a long time. We'd never taken the car there. I turned it over. In scratchy penmanship, it read, "Call me sometime, winking face, M." I swear, my heart stopped. I put the card back exactly how I found it, walked back inside, and acted like everything was fine. I kissed her on the cheek, told her I'd make dinner that night. She smiled, wrapped her towel around her hair, and said, "You're the best, babe." I didn't feel like the best. I felt like the biggest fool on earth. I couldn't take the not knowing anymore. So I drove to Marco's Auto the next afternoon. No call, no appointment, I just showed up. The place was tucked between a pawn shop and an old diner, with a few beat-up cars out front and a garage door wide open. A guy in his late 30s with tattoos down both arms and a smug sort of confidence walked over. Greasy hands, slicked back hair, that kind of guy. "You Marco?" I asked. "Yeah. You need a quote?" I held up the business card. "My wife, Elena, came here recently. I think you left her this." His whole vibe changed for a second. Eyes narrowed. He looked me up and down, smirked a little. "Oh. You're her husband." I didn't say anything. He wiped his hands on a rag and leaned against the doorframe. "Look, man, I didn't know she was married." She didn't say anything. Just said she was having car trouble, asked me to take a look. Things kinda happened after that. I felt my fists clench. "How many times?" He gave a careless shrug. "Couple. Maybe more. She came back more than the car needed, if you know what I mean." That was it. I turned and left before I did something I'd regret. Got in the car, slammed the door, and just sat there staring at the steering wheel. All those nights she came home a little later, claiming traffic, all the sudden interest in her appearance before errands, it all fit. She didn't even bother to lie well. And this guy? She picked him? I drove home in silence, shaking, a tight ball of rage and heartbreak forming in my gut. I had to confront her. And I had no idea what she'd say. That night, I waited. I didn't tell her I went to Marco's. I wanted to see what kind of story she'd spin, if she'd even bother lying or just deny it all. She came home around 6:30 p.m., looking like she walked out of a photo shoot, heels, hair perfect, makeup fresh. I stood in the kitchen, arms crossed. "Hey babe," she chirped, tossing her purse on the counter like nothing was wrong. "Elena," I said. "We need to talk." Her smile froze. "About what?" I pulled the business card from my pocket and slid it across the counter toward her. She didn't touch it. Just stared at it. "Elena." "Who's Marco?" Silence. Then, "He's just the guy who fixed the car." My blood boiled. "Don't lie." She sighed, like I was bothering her. Okay, maybe I had coffee with him. But it wasn't anything serious. I nearly laughed. "You had coffee in the back seat of the car?" Her eyes flared. She stepped back. "You went through my stuff?" That's what she cared about? Not the cheating, my snooping? "You've been lying for weeks," I snapped. "Sneaking around." "I talked to him. He told me everything." Her face dropped. For a second, I saw something close to fear. Then she tried to flip the switch again. "You don't understand. You've been distant. Cold." I was lonely. Classic deflection. I couldn't believe it. "So you went and found validation at a damn auto shop?" "I didn't plan it, it just happened," she cried. I stared at her, seeing a stranger I never really knew. She looked back, waiting for me to fix it like always. But I couldn't. Not this time. After her crocodile tears dried up, she tried to rewrite the whole narrative. "You don't get it," she said, pacing the living room like she was the one betrayed. "You've been emotionally unavailable for months." I blinked. "You mean the months I've been working overtime to pay off your credit card debt?" She froze. "Elena, you've been living like a queen while I've been killing myself trying to keep us afloat. And your solution was to hook up with a grease monkey behind a gas station?" Her face twisted. "Don't call him that." "Oh." Now she defends him. I realized in that moment she wasn't sorry. Not really. She was sorry she got caught. Her apologies were shallow. Robotic. Almost like she was trying out lines she'd heard in a drama series. She kept saying things like, "You weren't present. We grew apart. I didn't feel seen." But when I asked why she didn't talk to me about how she was feeling, silence. She just looked away. No answers. No real remorse. And then, get this, she actually said, "Maybe this will help us grow." I laughed so hard I almost cried. "You think cheating is a bonding exercise?" She shrugged. "It made me realize how much I still love you." I couldn't do it. I walked out. Took a long drive that night. No destination. Just the road and my thoughts. And that's when the sadness really started to settle in. That night in the car was the first time I let myself really feel it. The betrayal, the humiliation, the weight of being lied to over and over by someone I loved more than anything. I thought about all the little moments we'd shared. Sunday morning pancakes. Late night movies on the couch. The way she used to sneak up behind me and kiss my neck while I cooked. Had any of it been real? Or was I just a placeholder until something more exciting came along? I went back home around 2 a.m. The house was dark except for the kitchen light. She had fallen asleep on the couch, wrapped in a blanket she used to tease me about for being ugly but cozy. I watched her for a while, this woman who used to be my world. She looked so peaceful, like none of this had happened. Like she wasn't shattering everything we built one oil-stained lie at a time. The next morning, I asked for her phone. She resisted. "Why? You say you want to fix this? Prove it. Let me see it." After a lot of back and forth, she finally gave it to me, but it was already scrubbed. No texts. No call logs. No photos. Even the recently deleted folder was empty. And that was when it clicked, she had planned to hide it. This wasn't a slip. This was methodical, intentional deception. But the worst part? When I looked her in the eyes and said, "You were going to keep this going, weren't you?" She didn't say no. She just looked away again. At this point, I was spiraling. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying images of her and this guy in my car, in my house, maybe even in our bed. I needed answers. Real ones. So, I did something I probably shouldn't have. I went back to the repair shop. He was there. Mike. Grease under his nails, smug look wiped clean when he saw me walk in. "Look, man," he started. I cut him off. "I'm not here to fight. I just want the truth. Did you know she was married?" He looked at the floor for a while before nodding. "She said you two were in an open relationship. That you were cool with it." I felt like the ground dropped from under me. Did you believe her? I mean, I wanted to. She said all the right things. And I'm not gonna lie, she made it hard to think straight. He handed me something wrapped in a rag. "You dropped this last time. It was my house key. My spare house key, the one I thought I lost 6 months ago. She gave it to me. Said it was fine to come by when you weren't home." I don't even remember leaving the shop. I just remember getting into my car, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white, trying to process the idea that this man had been in my home, probably while I was at work, probably while she texted me, "Can't wait to see you tonight." The divorce papers came through a month later. I hadn't expected Ally to fight it. I'd expected her to beg for another chance, for us to somehow fix things. But no. She didn't fight it. She signed the papers and left me to pick up the pieces. We never spoke much after that. She tried to contact me a few times, but I didn't respond. I didn't need any more lies. I was done. A year passed. I found myself again. I spent time focusing on my career, my health, and rebuilding my life. I learned to trust myself again. And eventually, I met someone new, someone who made me feel whole again. Someone who didn't hide behind excuses or lies. It wasn't easy, but I moved on. And I learned that sometimes the hardest thing to do is let go, even when you're still in love with someone. You have to learn to love yourself more than you love the idea of fixing someone who doesn't want to be fixed.